It's good to see you, by the way.
To see you too.
Yeah, I was lucky. I checked because there's been so many time changes in the last 2 weeks all over the world. And I thought, well, maybe the time's changed since it looks like since we set the appointment, but let's see. Huh. So I checked it and then I was an hour off. Yeah, it's not on yet. There it goes. What it is, it seems like what's happening is the internet bandwidth is really slow. So I think you were in the studio, and had I stayed in there, you probably would have popped on eventually. But Zoom has much better software. It's a much better app than Restream although let me see if it's coming on. It's on one of the platforms. I can see it. Oh, it's on my page. So I'll tag you on my page.
Okay.
That way you don't have to. Yeah. And then, yeah, I'm anxious to see what the hell's been going on with you. Well, it was really interesting talking to you because, like I was saying on the show, let me just put this on so I can see comments. I'm only gonna be able to see comments on my Facebook page. Okay, let me just go here. Okay. All right, back. Okay. Yeah, it was interesting talking to you. I just want to revisit it because I want to make sure that I understood everything. But first of all, it's good to have you back. Sorry.
You.
I'm not, yeah.
Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, when you came on and told your story, so I think and just correct me if I'm wrong. So 11 years where you don't have the short-term memory, at least not, I mean, I think you said it was kind of graduated.
Well, my short-term memory came back 2 years
2 years
after the accident from a healing service that I went to, but I was without my long-term memory for 11 years.
Okay, that's what I meant. So the short-term memory was where you were talking about your daughter every morning. She would be talking to you, telling you, what's going on. And then 2 years go by, you get your short-term memory back, but you don't have your long-term memory. So then you spend the next 9 years, like when you run into somebody that you had a conflict with, or there was some kind of charge, you don't have a charge. You just see the unconditional love. And then I guess at the 11-year mark, you got your long-term memory back.
Yes.
Which one? And then I think you talked about how, like a lot of people, they have these, I think I told you about Morgan. She had like this Buddha state for 7 or 8 weeks in 1999, around the same time you were going through this. And then one day it came back, everything went back to normal. And so she was trying to get back to that place she was, which is, I think, something you said, and I've heard a lot of people say, where they want to get back to this certain point, almost like they got like a preview. You got a 11-year preview. But the interesting thing to me was that you were and are, basically a preview of what we're all stepping into.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just making the comments on the show that, there were some people's intel that directly supported what you're talking about, such as my brother Franco, who transitioned a couple of weeks ago. He would say that we're going to be having these characteristics along our journey, and that is, one is going to be like the 3D memory going away. Like you'll know that person, but only as, I don't know how to explain it, but like, in other words, there's no point of context in terms of, oh, we had a problem, or, things like that. More just looking at that person. Oh, I know that person. I love them unconditionally, or, whatever the case is. But just as a refresher, so the second 11 years, which brings us up to today, you're getting it back. Do you have short-term memory today? Do you have long-term memory today? What's your status today? And I just want to say also that I went to your Facebook page, because Messenger was acting weird. So I went to your Facebook page to message you from that page, and still didn't do it. But I saw some of your testimonials, and I had seen them before. And one of them was regarding a woman whose husband was in the hospital with COVID.
Mhm.
and they had a remote healing, and then he's out like the next day. So I just wanted to let you know that I saw that. We can talk about that. But so where are you at today? What's the last 11 years? Just a refresher. What's the last 11 years been like?
Well, I mean, everything is interesting, and I don't even really know what fits into normal, like what's normal and what's not normal. Because things have always been different for me, but not really different for me in the aspect of like everything that happened felt like it was supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
So when I got my memory back, I mean, there was this, I was really happy because I could remember everything about my daughter, but then all of the really tumultuous things that I had gone through as a child also came back. And it was really like, oh my gosh, I just felt so much anger. And I went into victim mode right away. Like, I can't believe that person did this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I just felt so angry. But then I also remembered, like, wait a minute, I don't have to feel like this. I don't have to be angry at any of these people because I have a reference as to what it feels like to just let it all go. So I just started doing a lot of healing work, releasing that and forgiving and
Yeah.
letting go of any judgment. But everything really just became amplified. Like more gifts came in, and like everything that was happening, it was just continuing, like seeing things and knowing things
Yeah.
and seeing into the future. Even though I was remembering everything from the past, but I just knew that I had to just,
Yeah.
I wanted so badly to get back to that place of letting it go and not having any of the memories affect me.
Yeah. I remember now we talked about this, and it was interesting because your journey was like an encapsulation of all of our journeys. Like it's just the way it went down in the linear timeline is different, or the order, the sequence of it's a little bit different. But I remember you saying, because I was asking you, how did you do that? And the way you were doing it was very much in line, obviously, with many different modalities and many different people.
Mhm.
And then I believe we got to a point where I might have asked you something to the effect of, what were your abilities and senses expanding? Was there a direct relationship to your ability to forgive and to put those traumatic events in their proper place, no judgment, and that type of thing? And I believe you were saying yes.
Mhm.
Um, so like what I'd like to talk about recent weeks, like since we talked, because that period seemed to be, and I believe it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago, which would have put us middle of September.
Mhm.
But I believe there was the beginning of like a wave that seemed to hit October 10th, 11th, and 12th. A real, I've been saying like it's been like a stair step for us since 2012. And for you, obviously, you're a little bit different, but you know what I'm saying. But it feels like in October, sometime mid-October, it just went up like that. Like there was just this massive change. And of course, there's been a lot of stuff going around. I guess you could say, in a way, chaotic energies, with the program of death, the program of survival, just a really deep, where the rubber meets the road, kind of the programs that contain all the little programs kind of thing. But
Mhm.
what has the last few weeks been like for you since we talked? What's been going on with you? What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
Well, I definitely feel the intensity of the energies. And I actually end up feeling really dizzy. It kind of just makes my head feel almost like I've been drugged. So I just have to do a lot more energy work to just clear that, because I know it's not my energies. I'm just picking up what's happening out there. And that's actually kind of exhausting,
Right.
clearing all of it.
Well, I've heard quite a few people say, and I saw one this morning, but you know how the short-term memory is.
Mhm.
And I can't remember the exact context, but I do remember that this person that I came across, I guess their meme or something post, it was somebody who I wouldn't have expected it, number one. And what they were alluding to was what you're talking about. Like they were saying that they knew that what they were feeling was collective,
Mhm.
or at least a big part of it was collective. And I've seen this comment or picked up on this in the I know within the last few days for sure, from different types of people. So when you when you are in this situation, you, Christa, and you are feeling all wobbly and dizzy, because I think a lot of people can relate to this,
Mhm.
and you realize it's collective, how do you bring that into balance? How do you get back on your feet?
So I make sure I'm grounded very strongly. And then I call in my higher self. I make sure that I'm me and I'm present, but I do call in my higher self. Um, and you can do that just by saying your name. And I went to this place called Gem World, and they had sage, like 12 sticks of sage for like $10. And I bought 30 of them or
Wow.
30. Yeah, I just bought a ton of sage. So I burn sage all the time. And then I have some other like Palo Santo and frankincense, and all of that really works. I mean, I never used to believe in it, but it really does work. And then I also, this is really helpful for me. I envision that I am in a pyramid. I and I can see it around me, and it's filled with the gold Christ light. And I don't go anywhere without being in that pyramid. And
So
that,
you put yourself in the pyramid.
yes.
Have you seen octahedron at all? An octahedron, which is the pyramid on top, pyramid on bottom, and the bottom.
Oh, yes, yes.
Does that mean anything to you in relation to what's happening now, or anything you've experienced?
Well, the day that the food appeared,
Yeah.
I heard the word Merkaba. And I thought, what is that? So I Googled it. And I just said, as I'm walking across the parking lot, I activate my Merkaba, just like that, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
And my body, I felt like I was walking at an angle for just a second. And then I came upright. And then that's when I had the experience with the food appearing. So that's
Yeah.
how I'm familiar with the triangles
Right.
going in different directions.
Right. Yeah. And for those of you who didn't catch the first show, I'd recommend you go watch it. It was a few weeks ago. She basically had an instant, and it wasn't the only one, but she had an instant manifestation with a witness, by the way, of where she had said to herself at this restaurant, I need to eat more such and such. And her take-home plate, in her take-home plate appeared a bunch of more food, both in your take-home and your friends as well.
Yeah, I just said I should eat more protein. I need more protein in my diet. And I said the word I need.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like people say, you shouldn't say you need anything because then you're without and the universe won't give it to you. Well, I said I need, and it was there. So I found that pretty interesting too.
That's a good point, though, what you're bringing up, because I can say this for myself for sure, that I've tried to be very careful. First of all, if people tell me you need to do this or you have to do that, I immediately go, get away, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it works the other way, like when I'm listening to you, because if within my own space,
Mhm.
I say I need this or want that,
Mhm.
it could be just like everything else. It has polarity connotations. So in other words, it's a paradox. One can be true, the other can be true. They both are true, depending on the alignment and the intention, I guess. But yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Spam calls. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So now, have you picked up on anything in these last few weeks? You mentioned the collective energy. Other people have said that. So
Yes.
that's something to think about, because it would seem like that it would be a natural part of our evolution to pick up more and more what we call that's external, through the telepathic avenues and such. But have you picked up on anything telepathically or otherwise, like what's going on? Do you feel like that you're getting more collective information? Is there a collective change occurring along with that, or any comments on that?
There is a collective change. There's a lot of people that are really stepping into their truth and they're uniting, but then there's still the other part where there's just all of this chaos and anger, and the people that are choosing to be there, it is not going well for them because they're just brewing more of it.
Yeah.
And I do want to share something else that I do that can be really supportive for people with all of this going on. To keep the collective energies away, you can just simply say, I release all anger that is not of me. And just saying that, you can just feel things opening up. And then I
Yeah.
release all worry that is not of me. And it is taken away.
Yeah.
So whatever you're feeling, like if there's anger, fear, or sadness, worry, guilt, anything, resentment, just say that, like, I release all, and then fill in the blanks. That is not of me.
That is not of me.
Yes.
Now, the anger thing is also very interesting. Okay. I was talking to Morgan this morning, and she said that she drives to a park in the morning just to ground. And she said on the way, she picked up that came in that the world, that the anger, and not necessarily a bad thing either. And that's where my question is going to be, but like that the anger is starting to set in with people all over to where they're not going to take it anymore. So I want to go back to what you said earlier about when your long-term memory came in and you started to remember these things that happened to you when you were younger, and you got very angry. And then you talked about how you moved to the next, you moved beyond it. Did the anger serve as an impetus for you to do something about it? What was your experience with that? Because that might be something that's helpful to people now.
Yes, because I feel like anger can serve a really great purpose because it can create change.
Right.
So if we use that anger, like, to create change, that's one thing. But to just be angry and stay in it, then it's just stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
So it's okay to feel angry, but the anger that I'm feeling, like that I feel that people are picking up in the collective, and the anger that I can feel is the people that are stuck in the mud, not the anger from the people that are like, we are done, we are uniting, we are standing in our power. That's a completely different energy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like a transformational, that's an alchemical application to the anger versus just living in the anger, thinking you're a victim or somebody's a victim, and that just pisses you off, right?
Yeah, because they're taking their power back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that just is like an instant shift in energy.
Yeah. I can't remember now. Obviously, you are an energy practitioner by light worker terms. you know, typical, not typical, but I mean, you are an energy practitioner that uses, let's just say, holistic or alternative, you know, methods, you know, in respect to the social norms. But you were also a nurse, if I remember correctly. Are you still a traditional nurse? Do you do both, or you just do the energy practitioner work?
I have my nursing license. I will keep it forever, but I don't work in the medical field. I can do so much more. I can
Yeah.
help people so much more with what I'm doing now
Yeah.
with the
Now,
energy
now,
healing.
when did you leave the traditional nursing?
I stayed a nurse in the medical field for 5 years,
Okay.
and I just started seeing everything clearly. And I thought, wow, this just does not resonate with me. And plus, after that first NDE, I had this, like, it was just like so much sympathy and empathy for people. I couldn't take it when anybody was in pain. And I was constantly passing out or feeling faint if somebody was injured. And, you know, I just couldn't even take it.
Yeah. And I saw a video last night from Adelaide, South Australia, where, like many places around the world, they are, you know, mandating that the nurses take a jab.
Mhm.
And I want to say there was a lot, like, you know, a few thousand of these nurses in a metropolitan area of, say, 1 million people. I think 1,000,002 people, which is pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a 15-minute video of this, I guess, one of the leaders of the group. It was a nurse, 2 degrees, and she just laid it all out. I mean, she laid everything out, from the statistics to the reality. I mean, she was saying stuff like 38 of the 36 patients that have passed from officially COVID, 36 had the vaccine.
Mhm.
And so, but just a lot of information. But it wasn't so much the information. And the reason I bring this up is because I think we actually talked about this last time, because we were talking about the feminine energy and how basically the medical industries, it has such a huge representation of the female gender, particularly in nursing, and
Mhm.
how that feminine energy is kind of like you said, like taking its power back. She
Mhm.
was a little bit angry, but she was using it as an alchemical, you know, an application to it of alchemy. You could see it. I mean, it was very powerful, very, very powerful. And I remember we were talking about that. So I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, wow, that's what I was talking about. Like, there are all these women out there who are passionate about their job and passionate about healing, and they're saying no, but this is too much, right? Kind of thing. Are you in touch with the nursing community? Do you have friends in the Arizona area? I mean, are you picking up anything like that?
You know, I don't have too many connections with anybody in the medical field, really. Um, I I have connections with a couple of naturopaths that have helped me along the way when I was exposed to mold and then had my second NDE. Um, but I just look at this, you know, like when they're telling everyone to get vaccinated in order to keep their jobs, this is the perfect opportunity for everyone to just leave that environment and they can start their own companies.
Hmm.
They can just collaborate. It's like they're being handed this on a platter. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just divinely guided.
Yeah. And so many people, obviously in these communities, and certainly that have come on this show, that seems to be a pretty common characteristic
Mhm.
of, let's just say, the journey of awakening, or let's say expanded awareness. And so it's the traumas like you had,
Mhm.
the events, or the event or events of expansion, which can be, you know, all types of things, like an NDE or a visitation, or whatever.
Mhm.
But as they come into awareness of themselves, there seems to be most of the time, here is your gift, or here is your purpose. One of your purposes is to heal people,
Mhm.
as you've healed yourself, and so that seems to be pretty common. And that would kind of make sense as the macro shatters and the micro kind of takes its power back in the individual aspects or facets.
Yeah, and it's really also the willingness to be free, just to have even that intent and that willingness deep inside of you.
Hmm.
Because when I was a nurse, I just said, and I was working in the hospital, I just said, this cannot be my destiny. And everything changed when I just let go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like now, do you at this point, because I remember what you told me before, but at this point, do you communicate with source directly? And I know it's all source directly, don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to get a feel.
Mhm.
Or do you have specific guides that come in and guide you? I mean, how do you function now at this point in terms of your relationship with infinite intelligence?
Well, I do have conversations with specific, like I have conversations with Mary and I can hear her voice. And then I have conversations with Jesus. And then there's the Elohim and um, Saint Michael, Archangel Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really communicate with all of them. But then there's also this council. Um, and I talk to them. So it's just kind of on an as needed basis, you know? And the connection is very fast because I will just be doing something and then I'll hear, we're with you. We're here
Right.
with you. And I just start getting these messages.
Are the messages for you? Are they collective information for the collective, or both?
It's both. And then when I'm doing healings for, like when I'm in the middle of a healing, I will get messages for them too.
Right.
And then there's a whole team of angels
Okay.
that start coming in.
Okay. And one of the other things that has come up in the last few weeks for myself, and I've seen more and more people, one way or the other, saying the same thing,
Mhm.
and that is uh, kind of like group healing, group efforts, not necessarily for healing, but alignment and expansion. I had a lucid dream when my brother came down with the COVID, and I was in this hospital corridor, and in every room, as I was walking down the corridor, there were 8 people in a circle. So we were up there, looking at ourselves down here, basically.
Mhm.
And these 8 groups of 8 people would be focusing in, together in unison on particular people and for particular reasons.
Mhm.
Uh, does that is that anything that's come through with you, where we'll be utilizing groups of like intentions to do things, accomplish things?
Yes, absolutely. And it's happening now. Um, just people are starting to collaborate and they're combining their energies. And um, even, I mean, I've combined my gifts with people in other countries and we meet at, random times. And I do a lot of clearing for lifting the negative energies. But I also bring in a ton of light because whenever you take something away, you want to replace it with something else.
Mhm.
But there are some that are still kind of in that space of feeling like there might be some competition, but that just shows that there's just some healing that's needing to be done. But so many people are coming together because they're seeing like we are stronger together.
Yeah. And I wonder how you feel about this, or what your take is on this. Obviously, when Franco went into the hospital, and now we've obviously seen more and more people going into the hospital or getting ill, and or transitioning, which a lot of people, not say a lot, but some substantial transmitters have shared information that there will be a pretty good percentage of the population transitioning. And obviously that's could be seen from the human perspective, but from the higher perspective, we know what that is.
Mhm.
But my question revolves around healing.
Mhm.
It revolves around what our capabilities are presently and what our reality is becoming. So without asking a leading question, what's your thoughts as a nurse and as an energy practitioner who heals, when, let's just say, when a group comes together and somebody is, let's just say somebody's ill, and that's their intention, is to bring light to that. There seems to be two different things happening. One is, I'm going to send my healing to you. I'm going to send it all to you. And there's another one that seems to be kind of coming to the surface, where it's kind of an equal energy exchange, where there's a school of thought where if I just send you healing, I'm depleting myself. It's almost like a codependent type of vibration or frequency from our past paradigm, where this new one is, I see you as the divinity and the soul that you are, and I'm going to send this forth in equilibrium for the highest and best for all involved. So I don't know, it's kind of a weird space in between, just like the space in between 3D and 5D, right? There's like no directions in the middle of it. What are your thoughts on how a group or even an individual would properly, and there's no wrong answer, but I'm just trying to get your feedback, but how they would properly or best serve themselves and the collective and that individual? How would they send healing? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's really supportive to make sure that you're centered within yourself, and to also let go of any beliefs. Because even for myself, even while I was still healing and I'm still strengthening myself, I'm doing healings for people, but it's not depleting me. So, but if I had that belief that I have to be 100% in order to help anybody, to me, that's a belief. And that will just shut everything down.
Right.
And then I would just feel completely depleted, even thinking about it.
Right.
So, one thing that I feel is really important is when doing healings for people, like if they're in a situation you can't actually communicate with them, with that person that was in the hospital that had COVID, is connecting with their higher self and asking, like, do you want to be here still? And sometimes it's a no, but sometimes it's a definitely yes, please help me. So I think that's really supportive to just have that answer too. But to just know that if it comes from your heart, whatever you're doing, as long as it comes from your heart and unconditional love, and you're not holding any attachments, then it can't be wrong.
Yeah. Almost like emitting a frequency of no expectation, I'm doing this from my heart, period, versus a frequency of I'm sacrificing something, like,
Yeah.
so I get what you're saying. And so like, because it would make sense too, like we're getting to the point where we're really becoming more aware of ourselves and we're feeling things more.
Mhm.
And almost like you would know if you were sending an imbalanced frequency out because of what you would begin to feel. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I had 3 different people, because a lot of people sent me messages when he transitioned, of condolences, and there was a lot of grief in those frequencies. There was a lot of pure intended, heartfelt, sorrow, but there was also a lot of I guess grief, which at some level is a fear-based characteristic.
Mhm.
But I received 3 messages from 3 people, all women, who had sent me messages of condolences. And when they sent the second message, which was the next day or a couple of days later, they said, "Oh my God, I just realized the gift of all this." They basically all said the same thing. They said it wasn't him that I was missing.
Mhm.
It was me that I was missing. It wasn't my grief for him. It was my grief for my own lack of awareness of myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to me, that was like, wow, that, you know what I mean? Like there was a reaction. To me, it was like their pure intention came back to them with an equal amount of energy, which created an epiphany.
Yeah.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of like what you're saying, and that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. Now you bring something else up too, which is, again, a lot of these things, everything, to some degree or another, we have belief systems, and we replace the belief systems with a broader or wider belief system as we create this, right?
Yeah.
But you talked about speaking to somebody's higher self.
Mhm.
Is there any protocol there? Is there, I know that there is I guess you would call it kind of a law of infringement, or, a understanding that what goes around comes around, but like, and maybe we just answered this question with the last, what we talked about, but is there a protocol for talking to somebody's higher self, pulling up somebody's higher self? Is there any do's and don'ts in your mind?
In my mind, I don't have any barriers. I don't create any barriers. So I believe anything is possible and there's no right or wrong. It's only learning. So when I connect with somebody's higher self, I mean, I just instantly, like, I'm connected to my heart. That's my first step. And I just envision my head and my heart connecting, and they just become one. And then I place my hands on my heart and I just start breathing, and I feel really centered and my heart is opening. And then it's just something that happens automatically. I just can see that person's higher self. They're like the soul, the truth of them. And I will just ask, like, is this okay? Do you want to be here?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to keep going? And sometimes I will see them like in a frantic state, like, yes, please help me.
Right.
And sometimes it's like, don't access my energy.
Right.
And then I just respect whatever I get.
Yeah. And again, it feels like the same as a previous question or conclusion, in that energetically speaking, you can feel, is this a reciprocating scenario, or is this a scenario where you have to respect the boundaries, so to speak? Like it's either way, you've approached it from the highest and best good, which is something that's contained within one single person, because we're all different, I guess. But I guess the understanding that, giving respect to what we can feel now that we couldn't feel with as great a sensitivity, say a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, that we can actually get that information and know what to do. That's yeah.
Yeah,
So
just honoring it. Because when I get a no, and there's a family member saying, well, can you help my son, for example, or my daughter or my husband, and then I just check in with them and I'm like, I can't. And they're like, but this will help this, and it'll save our marriage or etc. And I'm like, I can't do it. It's like my soul won't even allow me to go there.
Right.
Just
Right.
have to respect it, respect the boundaries.
So when you have communication with divine essences or the council,
Mhm.
is it always when you reach out? And I know you said a minute ago in that example that we are here, they said we are here,
Yeah,
but do you find that how does that work? Is it normally when they come knocking on the door or when you go knocking on the door?
it's really both.
Mhm.
It seems to be kind of an even flow.
Okay.
And like I was walking the labyrinth one day and I heard, "We're so glad you're here." And that's when I saw the council. This, and I just thought, you know what? You're here. I'm going to just give you my wish list.
So was this like third eye? Were you walking the labyrinth and you saw it in your mind's eye, or was there any apparition to
I
it?
mean, I could just see it,
Right.
see it.
Right.
With yeah, it wasn't in my third eye.
Very interesting. Was it like a galactic kind of representation or more like ascended master feel to it?
Ascended masters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were sitting at they were at a table and they were writing everything down that I was telling them that I wanted, because I was really like, oh my gosh, I needed healing so badly. So I just went down the list and they were writing it down. And then I went and I stood in the middle of the labyrinth. And I mean, it was like so powerful, the energies that came in. I felt like I was levitating off the ground. And my body was vibrating so strongly that, I mean, I've never felt anything that powerful before.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's,
but it was amazing also just to see them, like just with my own eyes, like not in my mind's eye.
I got you. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to remind everybody that you mentioned this before, and you just mentioned it in this example, that you continually move, on the trajectory of healing yourself even more and more and more,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is important, because somebody that's had the type of experience that you've had and the journey you've had and the abilities that you have can be perceived as someone who doesn't need to do anything. But that doesn't change. That's the only point I want to make. Yeah.
No, they're still healing. I mean, oh my gosh. I just wonder, like, when am I going to get to the finish line? But I don't think it ever ends.
I don't think so either. No, I think it's pretty obvious that the universe continues to expand, and if we're made in the image, it's just going to be that way. I think we pick up where we left off, but I guess we'll find out. So have you ever contact or reached out to make contact with any of these essences or the council in front of other people?
Yes.
You have.
Yeah.
Would you want to try it now?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I mean, if you're comfortable, I just try to, spontaneously, and intuitively just try to go with things.
Oh, yep, they're coming in, because I started getting really hot. Like the energies just feel super hot. Do you have questions for them?
I suppose we could, or whatever comes up. I mean,
Okay.
I guess the first question would be, do you have any, well, I'll let you tell me when to say something.
Okay.
I'll let you connect.
So let's see what comes in. I also speak in the language that I came back with, so that will come through as well. Ala oshokoko titia shabatate aneneniatata ridididi. Beloved ones, we are here with you. Do not allow yourselves to go into the depths of fear, for you will only create more of that. Stay in the truth of you. Every single person that you see, send them love. See that divine light within them. For this will help them heal. Because as you know, we are all connected. You are all multidimensional beings. And you are all learning and growing. But it is the most important time for you to stay in your truth and be the love and be the truth of who you are. Rise above it. Be of the world and not in it. All of the power is within you. You can supersede all of this. All of these trials and tribulations. Stay focused on the light. That will make your path much brighter and clearer. When you feel that your mind is wandering, just tell it that it's safe and get back to the space, to the truth of you, and let love carry you. This will be the easiest way for you to move through this life with ease and grace.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That answered every question I might have had. And as you were just ending, it was 5:55, which is
wow.
East Coast. Yeah, which is East Coast time. We schedule everything. So my computer shows East Coast time. So I saw that in sequence and I was like, oh, this is legit. But that was to me, that was a pretty thorough summation of the operating system available, which is, I love that when you said, if the mind starts to wander, to tell the mind everything is okay. Yeah. And then I also like how you talk about, because I heard 10 years ago, when I was hearing I am soul, I'm like, what does that mean? They said it's the heart and mind of spirit as one. So the equilibrium of heart and mind, almost like that was not to be diminish one or let one be greater than the other. It was actually a fusion of the two that had something to do with the uniqueness and the journey and the experience of the human being. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, we can see if they will bring answers in. If
anyone has a question, it'd have to be on my page on Facebook, but we'll give it a second and see if anybody. Well, Marianne Grant, our sister, she said the light language actually sounds like it's one other than her. That's trippy. Yeah.
When I received the language, I was told, I said, where is this language from? And they said, it's the light of the divine. And I had this conversation. I said, well, some people, when they're speaking a light language, they say they're channeling specific ones. And they said, it's the light of the divine.
Yeah. And I would think whatever's coming to us it's all the same anyway, right? I mean, but and then I look at like the multidimensional aspects. Like I look at people, and as the days go by, I can understand it more. But I mean, I'm going back years where you can actually see, even in myself, different aspects of me, kind of like taking the lead in that moment, right? Some, but now that we're coming into this more singular state, I guess, of our multidimensionality, like all the voices are kind of blending, I guess, in a way. Like, it's interesting how that's happening. But for her to make that observation, I thought was significant. Wow, I don't know. Let me check real quick and see if anybody came up with anything. Can they bring? Okay, well, let's see. There's 3 questions, 4 questions. How are all of us light workers doing for what we came here for? Okay, go ahead. We'll start with that one. How are we doing? How are we doing as far as in terms of what we came here to do? Does that make sense?
Shed all of your beliefs. You have so much power within you. Look inward and see if there's any space within you across any timeline, space, or dimension where you're carrying any beliefs that will limit you. Come together and unite and expand. And do not hold any fear. Know that you are light and grow your light brighter and stronger and expand it further. There are no limiting beliefs. Only that is within the human realm. Allow yourself to be free. This will bring more power within you.
Yes. Thank you for that. Another question from a friend of ours, Dr. Joe, which I'll present as his individual question, but also collective. He was asking why his heart physically has been attacked to the degree it has, 2 hospitalizations, heart attack. But I guess to couple that with why are so many people is there a noticeable number of people going through what we might call extreme physical scenarios at this time?
Beloved one, what happens with one will happen with another. And the moment something starts to happen within you, you can choose to take it on or you can refuse it. But when it is with your heart, there's a deep sadness within. A sadness that hasn't been felt. A sadness that you have to let go of. Allow yourself to feel the sadness so you can clear it, but then replace it with love, self-love. And know that you are whole and that you are complete. Humans fill themselves with things outside of themselves, but it is within that will bring complete fullness.
Yes. You want to try one more?
What was
your
the rest of the question? I feel a little woozy.
that last one? Oh, what is the question?
Yeah.
Is there, we'll just do this last one because we don't want to drain you.
No, it's okay. I'm doing fine. The energies are here. So,
Okay.
I feel, because I'm like going into another dimension
I
and
got
things
you.
are happening.
There's a new moon coming up, I think, in the next day or two. Is there anything that would serve us in terms of our intentions in relationship to the new moon?
Allow the love and light to pour into you and to live in gratitude. Be grateful for everything. But that same love and light that you receive, send it out. And do not set up any boundaries or limitations for how far your love and light can expand. You are all worthy of receiving all good things. You are all worthy of receiving love, wealth, health, good health. Know that we are with you, and we are walking with you, and we are supporting you. Just call on us. So many go into fear, and chaos erupts with the full moon, but this is because the energies are so high. But stay in that space of love. And let the gratitude flow to you. And let that love flow into you, but be willing to share the love and share the light, because everyone is worthy, and claim that you are whole and complete.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How you feeling?
I feel really good. I feel like I'm not really even sitting on this chair. Like I'm just sort of floating in air. I'm just floating.
Wow.
And I feel when these energies come in, my cells start to vibrate, and I feel just the energy moving, and I kind of feel like I'm moving like this, and I don't know if I'm sitting still or if I'm just in one place, but I feel like I'm moving, and everything feels very light and airy.
Wow. Have you met anyone similar to you to the extent that of your experience?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't.
I mean, that's a pretty unique situation to be 22 over that 22-year period, really. And even the circumstances of your journey. And again, if anybody hadn't seen the first show that we did together, it was a few weeks ago, you could just, query on Facebook or YouTube her name and Soul Speaks 5D. Wow. So, and how's your daughter doing? She's there.
She is doing amazing. She's really doing great. She got married in April, and
wow.
Yeah, she's just doing amazing. And I called her and I said, Kayla, did you know that you're an earth angel, and you can channel Saint Michael? And she's like, oh mom, yeah, I know.
Jesus. Now this is a kid that at 3 or 4 years old was already tuned in when you went through your situation, not having short-term or long-term memory, and was with you every day. So operating as an earth angel at 3 or 4 years old. I'm sure she's very aware what she can do. Right.
Yeah.
So she's what, probably 23, 24?
She is 32.
Oh, 32.
Yeah, I'm 52. So Yep,
Okay,
she's
gotcha.
32.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
so
a very powerful, she's very powerful. And I, you know, I just have this sense that she's going to be expanding even in her gifts and powers. They're just going to be made more known to her. So
yeah.
she's still, you know, we're all just still learning. I mean, I'm still learning. Like every day something different happens. And I'm
Right.
like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I could do that.
Do you get triggered today? I mean, now, do you get triggered at all?
Um, yeah, if I allow myself,
Hmm.
um, but it's almost like it happens in slow motion.
Okay.
So it's like I'm given this grace period, which I'm really grateful for. Because I mean, there is so much going on, but what I, the one thing that really helps is seeing that God source light energy in every single human being, no matter what
Right.
is going on.
Right.
And when you see that light, you really don't see anything else.
Yeah, I think just in watching uh different posts, watching the back and forth, some of the stuff I post because I tend to be, I guess, more optimistic than most. I've always been that way. People will say, I get that, but it's hard. Uh, is there just kind of a general way to seek, uh, seek the ability to see the divine in anything and any situation? Or is it just something as simple as consciously um, being on top of your thoughts?
Well, I think it takes inner work. Inner work is part of it, and releasing that judgment. Because if you're judging another person for their actions and how they're carrying themselves, then that means that there's probably more healing within you
Yeah.
that's required. So when you are, anytime something, you see something in another person, the first thing to do is to look inward and ask, like, why do I feel this way?
Right.
Why am I seeing it this way? And then you'll be reminded, like, well, because this happened. But it's a perfect opportunity for you to heal it. So you could even see those as opportunities
Yeah.
for healing.
Yeah, I like that. I like the like kind of like the navigational system is the questions and the curiosity.
Mhm.
Would you describe what you just described as kind of a conversation between the little me and the big me?
Mhm. Um, well, it's just really bringing yourself to the present moment when that happens and just being, because you have to be centered and aware,
Right.
because then you're able to just take a step back.
Right.
And that's when you just kind of go into more of an observation mode
Hmm.
instead of action mode.
Right. Right. I got you.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Such a fast moving and fascinating conversation. A great way to start the day when you've been discombobulated for the previous hour and a half. But yeah, really good stuff. I believe in this real-time intel, having these conversations, and um, I appreciate your openness and willingness to share what your energy and so on. And I look forward to doing it again if you're open to it.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, me
Yes.
too. Me too. It's a powerful times, and it seems like we're moving into a powerful period over these next 2 or 3 months. It just feels like something's cooking. Every day
Yeah.
you wake up and it's like, oh my God, it's even, you're talking about the cells vibrating. as a metaphor or not, it just feels like there's just a higher vibration every day. It's just like getting faster and faster. But, at the same time, that slow motion that you're talking about is there too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the slow when things go into slow motion, because it's like, oh, okay. Because when things go into a slow motion, it's almost like you're going into a completely different dimension.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, wow, I can completely rethink this, but I think less anyway. So, but it still helps.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, Christa, thank you so much for coming in again and sharing
Thank
space
you.
with us. Honor us with your presence. Best to you and your family,
Thank you.
and everything that you're doing. And we'll hook up again in a few weeks if you're up for it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Yeah, thank you. You take care.
Grateful. You too. Have a great day.